evening. Here is top news newsletter, starting with the headlines. Syria welcomes UNESCO resolution on cracking down financing terrorist groups. Terrorist organizations relief from armies advance, losing more members and equipment. Putin ceasefire agreement on Ukraine starting February 15. Syria welcomed the UN Security Council Resolution 2199 to crack down financing terrorist groups through electing oil sales, trading in antiquities, and paying ransom for hostages, and highly appreciates the Russian and Chinese delegations in this regard. Syria's permanent envoy to the UN, Dr. Bashar al-Jafari, said, "The United Nations Security Council adopted a Russian-sponsored resolution that calls for pulling the plug on funding terrorist organizations including ISIL and Jabhat al-Nusra." He added that the terrorists come from Jordan, which established camps and what they call joint operation centers to train terrorists, then send them to Syria under observation of intelligence services of the US, Israel, Turkey, Qatar and Saudi, and they call those terrorists moderates, while the Security Council resolution point out that there is a non-moderate or extremist terrorist, and the resolution obligates fighting terrorism and all forms of terrorist acts perpetrated by ISIL and al-Nusra and all other terrorist organizations. For his part, the Iraqi envoy Mohammed Ali al-Hakim pointed out the comprehensiveness of the resolution in preventing dealing with the terrorists exporting oil, ransoming, and other economic issues that might be of benefit to terrorists in Iraq and Syria. Al-Hakim called the resolution as a very important under Chapter 7, and that for Iraq the resolution 2199 attempts to freeze and destroy terrorist financing sources, especially ISIL and al-Nusra, expressing appreciation to a number of states including Russia and China for their efforts to issue the resolution under Chapter 7. Units of the army and armed forces continued their operations in Dara countryside, eliminating inter-members of a terrorist group in Al-Jaluhiyya and the Lojat al-Sharqi area. In the north of Dara city, army units targeted terrorist pockets and destroyed their equipment. Units of the army killed and injured many terrorists in Tafas town. Another army unit eliminated Takfiri terrorists in Al-Mzarib town. Army intensifies its operations in the northwest countryside of Dara after establishing control over the strategically important area in Deir al-Adas and Al-Mseh overlooking town, and continued its operation toward farming grip on towns and hills in the area. Units of the army and armed forces killed many of Islamic State of Iraq and Syria ISIL terrorist organizations member in the eastern countryside of Al-Hasaka province. An army unit in cooperation with the popular defense groups clashed with the ISIL terrorists in Al-Mafraq al-Petrol area. Army units struck hard on the dens of terrorist organizations of Jabhat al-Nusra and Ahrar al-Sham to the west of the northern province of Idlib, killing and injuring many of their members in Korin and the Sahl al-Rouj area and Tal al-Ghazal village. 15 terrorists from different nationalities were killed in the operations and 10 others were injured. Another number of the terrorists were killed in Al-Zara village on the border with the Hama. An army unit destroyed a den for terrorists in Tal Salmo in Abu Zuhur area and killed others in Al-Majaz in the same area. Russian President Vladimir Putin announced that at the end of Normandy 4 summit, "I believe we agreed on a big deal. We agreed to a ceasefire starting on February 15. The deal was reached after marathon talks between the leaders of France, Hollande, Germany Angela Merkel, Russia Vladimir Putin, and Ukraine Petro Poroshenko, and signed by the Ukrainian rebels. A compromise decision was taken over the disagreements line, which was the biggest stumbling block in the negotiation. According to the document, Kiev's troops would pull back heavy weapons from the current front line. The rebels would pull back from the line as it existed in September when the previous ceasefire agreement was signed. Humanitarian and economic issues are also mentioned in the deal. Kiev would restore economic ties and social payments which it cut in rebel-held area. The document says an international monitoring mechanism may be established for these payments. Putin said that Kiev's unwillingness to hold direct talks with the self-proclaimed Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republic was among the reasons it took so much time to reach an agreement. The terms of the ceasefire are spelled out in a document signed by members of the so-called contact group, which includes representatives from the rebel forces, Kiev, Moscow, and the Organization for Cooperation and Security in Europe, as Putin said. The Lebanese army security plane kicked off down in the Al-Buqa and Hormel Eastern province. A joint force from the army as well as around 1,000 soldiers from the internal security forces and the general security personnel participate in the plan. The new scheme includes a reinforcement for the existing checkpoint and establishing new ones in the region, especially at the entrance of the town in Zahle and the Hormel province. The plan moreover seeks to arrest criminals and outlaws in Al-Buqa where theft gangs and drug dealers take point, as well as networks that kidnap people in return for ransom. It also includes the control over road leading to the town of Britel. Lebanon army and security units have been battling gunmen and armed terrorists of the so-called Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, ISIL Takfiri group, and the Al-Qaeda affiliate Al-Nusra Front, who deploy in various areas in eastern of the country. The Bahraini security forces have chased anti-regime protesters who had participated in a rally in an effort to kill them. Bahraini regime forces fired tear gas and parachute to disperse anti-government protesters across several regions. Tensions have been running high in monarchy since Salman's arrest and on the eve of revolution's anniversary. That's all for today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Inas Ahmad. Good night.